Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Indycar. My name's Gordon Ross. I'm sorry the show is going out a bit late today. It's been an extremely busy day work-wise, and because of that I've had to put back the whole Indycar programme. Normally I would do these shows in the morning, but this afternoon I'm afraid it's coming to you as a tea time edition. Now, a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about today. The first one is what happened on the Andrew Marr show yesterday, when Andrew Marr interviewed Guy Verhofstadt, who is one of the chief negotiators for Brexit and a former Prime Minister of, I think it was Belgium if I remember correctly, but I'll check that. However, Guy Verhofstadt is very much a European, and he is also very much puzzled by Brexit, completely baffled by why the United Kingdom wants to come out of the European Union. However, when he was pressed by Marr about how he saw the negotiations going, he was very clear indeed about the path forwards from this point on. Now, the first thing that Marr asked about was about the transition period. Now, this is the period which will stretch from I think it's the 19th of March next year, 2019, for perhaps about 20 to 21 months after that. And it's a period in which the United Kingdom will be still inside the EU, effectively still working to the same methodology. So the same rules will apply, European laws will still apply, trade will be normal, there won't be anything different, we won't be out of the EU at this point, and everything will proceed as though we were still in the European Union. Now, the difficulty with this, as Verhofstadt pointed out, is that if the Tories continue with this red line on the free movement of people, in other words, not allowing Europeans during this transition period to come to the United Kingdom, to work here and to live here, if they don't permit that to happen, Verhofstadt says that the European Union will not give the United Kingdom a transition period at all. It's conditional on the UK accepting the 4 primary freedoms which all European Union countries must accept in order to trade as if they're European Union members. Now, okay, we're going to be coming out of the European Union, but having negotiated for this transition period, the European Union wants to give the UK this time to adjust and to get itself ready to leave Europe and go on to a new deal. That the European Union wants us to have that, but the only condition is that we stick with the existing principles of being a member. And I don't think really that's something that you could complain about when you're getting all the benefits of being in the European Union for a further 21 months. So as costs go, it's pretty small because, I mean, you're only talking about a year and 3/4 of people coming and going into and out of the United Kingdom to and from Europe. And remember that that is a reciprocal arrangement. It means that people who are resident in Europe, who have British passports, will also be able to continue to travel freely to and from Europe into and out of the UK. So everybody will benefit from that. And as Verhofstadt pointed out, why is it that the British government wants us to be able to move goods and services in and out of Europe, to be able to move cash in and out of Europe, and to be able to have financial services passported in and out of Europe, and yet people are to be penalised for it? It doesn't make any sense. So I see trouble ahead for the United Kingdom if they stick with this red line. Mrs May is going to come up against a very difficult dilemma, which is her Brexiteers, the hard right Brexiteers like Johnson and Gove, who are going to be pressing her to maintain this red line on zero movement of people. If they continue pressing with it and Theresa May actually goes along with this, then we won't get any kind of transition period at all. We'll simply be turfed out on our ear on the 19th of March, or is it the 29th of March, but whatever. We'll be turfed out on our ear in March 2019, and that will be it. Now, on top of all of this, he was also asked by Marr about how the deal will be done. Now, the deal is done in a slightly different way. Apparently, it's done as a separate negotiation. So while this time clock is ticking and we remain in the European Union, they will come up with a general framework for the agreement. In other words, Britain comes up with generally what it wants to achieve. The European Union then looks at that and says how much of that they are prepared to give the United Kingdom. Then there's a negotiation, and then the UK will be offered something, whatever it is. It's not obviously going to be everything that they've asked for, because, as he pointed out, you can't have the United Kingdom getting almost exactly the same or very nearly the same benefits as a full member would, even though they're not a member. And the British cannot complain that they're getting the benefits of the European Union when they are not actually obeying its rules. They can't complain that they're being shut out of decision making when, as Verhofstadt has pointed out, it was Britain that wanted to leave in the first place. So Marr didn't really have anywhere to go with this. Verhofstadt was very, very clear, and I think this is pointing to a big problem coming, which is that the British will have to accept the free movement of people for a further 21 months if they want to have time to negotiate a deal and have time for the UK economy and its businesses to adjust to the new regime. All of which doesn't really fill me with confidence. Now, moving away from Brexit and on to things closer to home, you're probably aware that we're trying an experiment on Wednesday night where Indycar is going to be parked up in Govan for a while, and I'm going to present a new show, a version of Indycar, which is in the studio at the Independence Live Studios in Govan. And we're planning to do a live show, live streamed as I do normally. My guest, I hope, will be Michael Larkin, well known as Wee Scribbles. And I'm just saying, I'm hoping it will be Michael. At the moment, he hasn't confirmed, but as far as I know, it looks like it will probably be Wee Scribbles will be the first guest. I'm also trying to arrange to have a guest weather forecaster on the show. That's going to be a difficult ask, but we're working on that at the moment. And we're hoping to have a small live studio audience who can put questions to the guests and myself during the show at any time. And we're hoping also that because of our producer being able to monitor what people are saying on the live stream, we'll be able to take some of your questions from the comments on live stream and be able to answer those as well. So we're hoping to make to cobble together a live show in which you can interact, the audience can interact. We might have a weather forecast, and we're hopefully going to have a guest. So, as you can tell from the way I'm describing this at the moment, it's quite a lot of things still up in the air, but it's coming together. And I've spoken to my producer, Kevin Gibney, this morning, and he's excited, and I'm excited to get going on this. I'll try and reveal what the topics will be a little bit closer to the time. Now, on the subject of things happening in Scotland, as you know, there are a large number of events being staged now across Scotland as the independence grassroots movement gears up for the coming campaign. And somebody pointed out to me today that we need to change the narrative and change the words that we use now when we are approaching people who perhaps voted no the last referendum. And the reason that they feel we need to change the narrative is that Brexit and the way things are going in the UK looks so dire at the moment. We don't want to go in there trying to blame people who voted for Brexit, and we don't want to go in there criticising people who voted no the last time because they just weren't convinced. They just thought it was too big a risk. So now we have to change our narrative and invite people when we have, as we have done recently, when we've had stalls in the main shopping centres, like in the one in Buchanan Street recently. That was a big success because it converted a few people. It might convert even more people if we change our approach to people who haven't voted yes traditionally, and maybe they're not SNP supporters, they've had nothing to do with the independence movement, and they're coming to see us for the first time. What do we say to them? Well, I think we have to say to them, look, we're not all a bunch of loonies here. We're not all tartan-wearing, sword-waving, blood and soil nationalists. Most of us are just normal people like you who have come to the conclusion that independence is the best solution for Scotland. It's the only way to save the country's economy from the mess that Brexit is going to leave it in, and also for us to return our decision making to Scotland, where decisions can be made in the interests of the people instead of being made by people in another country. Somebody said to me we should ask people who voted no last time how they feel about the union now. Ask them what the union has done for them recently. Has it done any of the things that it promised to do if they voted no? And if they say, well, no, it's not really, then you say, well, okay, we have got solutions to that problem. We are going to do these things. This independence is going to make it possible for your pension to rise. It's going to make it possible for us to use the oil money, which is currently being squandered on debt, to build an oil fund, which will build up enough money in our welfare state that we can improve the NHS, we can improve your pension, we can make sure that you get free home care, that you get free bus travel. We should be able to do things like nationalising our utilities so that people's bills are no longer so high, so that the profit motive is taken out of those essential things that Scotland is so wealthy in, those natural resources which should really almost be free to people in Scotland. I used to say to people that you don't see food banks in Saudi Arabia, do you? And you don't see food banks in Saudi Arabia for a very good reason. And that's because all the oil money, all the wealth that Saudi Arabia has made from its oil is spent on its people. Did you know that in Saudi Arabia people don't pay tax? Because they don't need to, because the country's so wealthy. In Scotland, we pay millions of pounds of tax. We have food banks. We have a high level of poverty. We have a high level of deprivation. And we shouldn't have. We are an oil-producing country, a gas-producing country, an electricity-producing country. So all of those things we want to talk to people about. So there's a lot of work for us to do to entice people to vote yes in the next referendum, which I think is going to come sooner than we all imagine. The reason I say that is because I think that the Brexit train wreck is about to fully come off the tracks this summer, when this transition period runs into the buffers, when the British government will not move on this business of the free movement of people. I think it's going to be a massive stumbling block. And finally, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Hands Off Our Parliament programme. This is the event on the 23rd of March. Now, people have been complaining that this is a Friday, and of course it is a Friday, but the reason it's being done on a Friday is so that we have access to MSPs before they go off back to their constituencies for the weekend. And it's the only chance we will get to actually speak to some of the MSPs going in and out of the Parliament, and to encourage them to join our protest, our demonstration of our resolve to protect Holyrood from any kind of Tory power grab. Other people have said, why don't we put posters up? Why don't we crowdfund this, that and the next thing? Well, the reason we're not doing that is that the whole business of Hoop is to do with not being organised at all. Those of you who might remember, if you think back to the big march that we had, the big rally we had in Glasgow on May the 3rd, during the summer, and how hugely successful that was. With 25,000 people came to that, even though we expected only 5,000. And the reason that was such a success was people did their own thing. They came along, somebody built a beautiful unicorn pedal bicycle float, which was fantastic. Other people had drones, some folk dressed up. People played instruments, other people brought dogs with them dressed up in salters. It was a great occasion, and we want to make Hoop the same. So we're leaving it up to individuals to do whatever they wish, dress up in whatever fancy dress they like. The theme is protecting Parliament. That's really all it's about, protecting Holyrood. We are planning a big public display using 100 saltire shields as part of our visual programme to demonstrate that we're trying to shield Holyrood from any kind of power grab and to protect our Parliament from any sort of threat of it being repealed, removed, or in any way shut down or disempowered. And it's very important for everybody, those who back independence and those who don't, to protect this Parliament. Remember, Labour and Conservative, but mostly it was Labour, Greens and other parties, the Lib Dems, who campaigned to get the Holyrood Parliament built. The Tories were not that interested in it, but the other parties were. And because of that, I know a lot of Labour people who value the Parliament at Holyrood as highly as independent supporters do. And we want to see them turn out as well. This is not a party political event. This is an event for the people of Scotland who want to keep their own Parliament, who don't want it demolished, who don't want the Tories taking it away from us. If we are to become an independent country again, then we need to have a place to govern from, and we cannot govern from nowhere. We have to have a Parliament, we need a debating chamber, we need enough space for the MSPs to represent the people of Scotland, and that we can only do if we keep Holyrood intact. It's very important for all of us, so everybody is welcome. There is no cost involved. If you can't make it along, please don't worry. We know that a lot of people can't afford to travel to Edinburgh. We know a lot of people can't take time off work. We have 2,000 people already committed who have joined the website, who have joined the group. And if all of those turned up, or even, you know, turned up with a friend, that would be terrific. If we get a few thousand people, that will fill the area in front of the Parliament, and that's what we want to do. The more the merrier. And I'm sure, based on what I saw last year and what I saw on the 3rd of May, that we can turn out 25,000 people when there's a general election campaign going on. That's quite amazing. If we can turn out 25,000 in Glasgow for one march, I'm sure we can turn out a good few thousand in Edinburgh for something which will protect the Parliament. Anyway, I'm off now. I'll keep you posted on how things are going with Indy Studio show, but all things being equal, we should be going ahead at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. But I'll talk to you again tomorrow and let you know how things are going with that. Bye for now though.